Hey, we're going live a couple minutes early. We are getting ready to begin sharing a devotional with whoever comes and joins us or whoever ends up watching later. We'll be happy to see that happen for many as well. Mariah's here and wanted to introduce me, I think. Is that what you were going to do? Who am I?
Pastor Nate.
Pastor Nate. And what do you know what I'm going to do today at all?
Mm,
Am I going to shoot a video?
yes.
Yeah. What are you getting ready to do?
Eat some jelly beans.
Eat some jelly beans. That'll be fun. You already done with school for today? Who did you do school with today?
You.
With me. We got to do school together. We worked on math and we worked on science. We played with rocks, did all sorts of fun things. Did gym obstacle courses. And you're going to show everybody your digital glasses to screen out blue light when you have to spend so much time on screens. You look awfully cute. Now they can see all sorts of the reflection in the background. That's pretty fun. Well, I see a couple of people are joining. Can you say hi to Lori and Joni? Hi. We see a couple people there. All right, you can get your jelly beans, Mariah. Take off your glasses, get your jelly beans, and then go have fun.
Bye.
Look, they said hello and waved. Joni said hi back. All right. We are having the fun of the working at home. And so even last week I was in the office, I think on Wednesday for a day, shooting some videos and helping pass out communion. So that was in my office. So this will be the first time I think that you get to see my house. This is my home office, where we do a lot of the slideshows and things for sermons get made in here on Saturday nights. And you going to show off your jelly beans? There's some more people you can say hi to. You can say hi to Helen as well. Say hi, Helen.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got her jelly beans. All right, you can go eat somewhere else, Mariah. I'm going to start shooting our video. This is the home office, so this is I spend a lot of Saturday nights rehearsing messages and finalizing those here. Otherwise, most of my work happens at the church, but I get to do some of it here at the same time. It is weird to see that my wife just joined since she's in the house and can probably just hear me from the other room anyway. But don't know what quarantine and stay-at-home orders have been like for you, but for me, there's just random verses that bounce around in my head and random parts of scripture that stick out to me that I think apply to the season we're in, or at least apply in my life to the season I feel like I'm in. And so I wanted to take some time to just reflect a little bit on one of the parables Jesus tells, and particularly for me, not just seeing it as a parable, but seeing it as a challenge. Jesus offered it, I think, as a challenge. And to me, it's a challenge of the way that I can think through how to operate in this season where many are trying to figure out what normal looks like right now, and people are afraid of and questioning how long something's going to take and what it'll be like when things are over and what that means we do with the stuff we have in the meantime. And Jesus tells a parable. He's not telling it about a season like this. He's telling it about waiting for the end times, and how we don't know how long that will be, and that we're just kind of in this season where we don't know how long it will last, and yet we're supposed to do some things. So Jesus tells a parable in Matthew 25, called the parable of the bags of gold, or other versions call it the parable of the talents, or something like that, where the master leaves, and while he's gone, he leaves three different servants with some of his money. And so it says to one of them, he gives 5 bags of gold. To another one, he gives 2 bags of gold. And to the last one bag of gold, each according to his ability. And then the master leaves to go on his journey. And while he's on the journey, each of those people have to decide what to do with the resources that have been entrusted to them. It says the man who received 5 bags of gold went at once and put the money to work, and he gained 5 bags more. So also the one with 2 bags of gold gained 2 more. But the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. There's going to be some context that happens in here. The master's going to come back and start questioning them about what happens. But those are the details of the story. The master leaves. The season is unknown how long he's going to be gone, how long the journey's going to take. And while the master's gone on the journey, one of them takes the money that's been entrusted, doubles it from 5 to 10. One doubles it from 2 to 4. And the guy who's just given 1 is, what we'll end up seeing is he's kind of afraid and he doesn't know what to do. And while he doesn't know what to do, Ryan, you like saying hi? She's bouncing around between watching the video here be recorded and watching Jenny watch it in the other room. So she's having fun. Uh, so the what we see is the individual who got one, who hides the money. What we're going to find out later when he's asked why he did that is that he was afraid. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know how long it was going to be. He didn't want to do the wrong thing. And so instead of doing the wrong thing and getting punished for it, he chose to do nothing. But the context of that is that he's the one set up as a poor example. As the master comes back, verse 19 says, he went to settle accounts with them. And the man who had received 5 bags of gold brought out the other 5. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I've gained 5 more. And his master replied the words we would all hope to hear. Well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The man with 2 bags of gold also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I've gained 2 more. And his master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. And then the part that I want to focus on, this third individual, the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. Master, he said, I knew that you're a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid, and I went out and I hid your gold in the ground. So here's what belongs to you. A season has passed. Jesus doesn't give a time frame to it. Just says that a long time had passed. The season's done, and when the master comes back, the response is, I was afraid, so I hid the resources, and I'm offering back exactly what was entrusted to me. I did nothing with it. I set it aside for the season and hoped that when you came back, just giving it back to you would be pleasing. And the master replies, Jesus' words, you wicked, lazy servant. You knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well, then you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. Master says, why would you do nothing? You know that how you use the resources I gave you is important. You know that these things matter to me, and yet you chose to do nothing. You could have done just very little at least, and there would have been some interest that would have accrued. You could have put the resource to even minimal usage, and I'd have been happy with that. But you chose to do nothing. As I was thinking through some verses and just thinking through the season of life that social distancing has brought, this passage came to mind. A passage where we have this unending time frame where we don't know how long it's going to be, and a time frame that causes a lot of us to think about the resources we have and say, man, I don't know what the right move to make is today. I clicked on a favorite internet news site this morning, and while I was just browsing the headlines to see if significant things had taken place last night or this morning, there were 3 or 4 different headlines that were about what people should do literally with their financial resources. News headline was number 3 was something like, should you invest in the stock market right now, or should you save money in like a checking account instead to have access to it if something changes or is needed. And articles of people talking about, hey, we're in a weird season of thinking about what our resources look like. And while our culture can talk about that financially, and even Jesus's parable was about a master's money, I think that that's true of any of the gifts and resources that we have. Our time, our relationships, our money, our spiritual gifts, any of the resources we have. When we say there's this unknown season we're a part of, what do we do with what's been entrusted to us? And Jesus' answer, at least in that parable, is something. Do something. Don't let fear be a reason you say, I don't know if now's the right time to give. I don't know if now's the right time to call that friend. I don't know if now's the right time to invest. I'll kind of just stay in this holding pattern, get through this season, and when things return to normal, then I'll be able to use those resources. I'll have what was given to me the same way it was before this started when this is over. Jesus, no, that's wicked. That's lazy. And the challenge for us is, don't just sit and do nothing. Don't just sit and say, Man, I just need to survive this. And once survival is over and normality returns, then I'll go back to working on behalf of the kingdom. Then I'll go back to serving the master. Then I'll go back to using my spiritual gifts. Then I'll go back to participating in the community of God's people's life. It's just, no, no, no. The plan, the best thing to do right now is put the resources to work. I don't mean to be foolish. I'm not saying I'm not here because the church needs money and I'm telling you, please give us everything you have. I don't hear that at all. I'm just saying individually, as I was thinking about it for my own life, God wants us not to just be people who are saying, this season's weird. I'm just going to stabilize and make it through and hope the resources are still around when it's done so that then I can get to work. Jesus says, no, no, no. The best plan, if we want to be good and faithful servants, is to be using all of the resources we have still now. And it'll look different. The opportunities are different. My life has looked strangely different. So far, most of my work today has been video editing. I can't remember the last time in 5 years that I spent significant portions of my day doing video editing. But we want Easter to be as beneficial as it can be. We've got some creative things we're trying to implement into that service, and that means that I have to use whatever resource I have to be able to do work on behalf of being a good steward. And so I'd encourage you to think through that in your own life, to think through what it looks like to put your efforts to work for God's kingdom. If you're looking for a couple of simple things to start with, let me just encourage you to start with prayer. We have, as a church, you can look back in past emails, or you can look, I think, on our Facebook page and see that we've joined with 15 other Elk River area churches to a time of fasting and prayer for throughout this week, and trying to think through what we can invest spiritually into how God's kingdom is moving in our midst. And so you can say, that's a resource I have. I've got time and the ability to pray, and I can put that to work in this moment, not just say, man, I'm only going to think about myself and get through, but say, no, no, how do I put this to work? Maybe it's not in prayer. Maybe it is financial giving. Maybe it's reaching out to somebody you know you can serve. Maybe there's a neighbor who is more immunocompromised or has more health issues. And you don't know how they're going to be able to get shopping done. And so you can just extend an opportunity to say, man, I would love to care for you and do some shopping on behalf of you if that's something that would be a benefit to them. And not just sit and do nothing out of fear, but to proactively be serving. Maybe it's a phone call or a text message to a friend you know that can use some encouragement. Maybe it's deciding to do whatever version that outreach looks like to you, and you want to just let somebody know about the Good Friday event where they can hear about Jesus's words on the cross, or invite them to our digital service Easter Sunday. We've got events on the Facebook page you can either share or send invites to that to let people know. And so maybe what you'll say is, yeah, instead of the conversations I might normally get to have with my neighbors outside, maybe it looks like an invite to somebody who I can't normally invite, whether that's a neighbor, maybe somebody who lives further away. They can make a digital service, but you could never invite to a physical one. And to think through in this moment, how do I just put stuff to work so that when the season ends, when the journey is over, what we hear is, well done, good and faithful servant. The stuff that you had with you, you used and saw increase in interest for the kingdom of God because of it, instead of out of fear just saying, I just want to hide everything and hope to get through this time in a way that's okay. So I want to encourage you, you don't have to have a lot. It can be 5 bags, it can be 2 bags, it can be 1 bag, whatever's been entrusted with you, whatever you have. You don't have to have a lot. You can put it to work for God's kingdom, personally, relationally, financially, whatever that looks like. You can put it to work for God's kingdom. And then number 2, just a challenge instead of an encouragement. Let's make sure not to let this season, just because it has an unknown end time and some chaos in the world around us and some fluctuations of resources in the world around us, set us into a pattern where our only thought is, I'm just going to hide what I have and hope that when this journey is over, it's there to be used. But that we'd be people who say, Jesus says that's wicked and lazy, and that what's beneficial and valuable for us now is to be using it now, even if it's a gift or a skill set that we don't normally get to use. Hopeful that you'll find that, hopeful that you'll get to then be encouraged by seeing and celebrating fruit for God's kingdom as you put those things to work, that whether that's relationally, spiritually, yourself, stories that you hear from the ways that you impact others. I hope that you get to see that fruit, that God blesses you and graces you with that opportunity to encourage your faith in that midst as well. Excited about that. If you have those stories, would love for you to share them with us so that we can all be encouraged in that time together. You can post that to our Facebook page, email it to a pastor or something. We'd love to get that input as well. Hope all of you have great days and go about serving God well with the resources you've been entrusted with, so that we could all together at some point hear that we have been good and we have been faithful as we've served Jesus together. Have a blessed rest of your Wednesday, or if you're watching it later, a blessed rest of whichever day you're watching this. And we'll see you again next time.